Hi, guys.
Hello.
Hello. Happy Sunday, everybody. And as always, we are doing our little Sunday night relationship chat. What's up, Perry? So, if you're coming on, either live or on the replay, please say hi and where you're coming in from. And what we're going to talk about tonight, Rick, what's up? Hi, Linda. We're going to talk about some interesting stats on marriage, specifically divorce, which we were both really, really taken back by. But also the important aspect of what we're going to talk about tonight, which is listening, because there's communication issues in all relationships, whether it's with your partner, friends, or family. So this is going to be able to carry through into whatever you're doing. So hey, Matt. Hi, Melissa. What's up, Hen? So first we're going to talk about listening, and I think it's. Do you want to start with your story first, or how did you want to? Do you want to?
Sure, yeah. So just a heads up, everyone, I'm recovering from the flu. So I am, yeah, I know. I'm not 100%, but Scott was like, "Do you want to do this live?" And I'm like, "Yeah, let's do it." So please
I
forgive
dragged her out
me.
of bed. I said, "Just you're doing this."
Yeah, I'm in rare form. But anyway, so thanks for jumping on. But yeah, so just on the note of like listening, and we had such a crazy week. Not only was I unaware that I was actually starting to fight the flu, but I just felt like so physically and mentally fatigued. And, Scott and I were talking, and I hit a wall, and I was kind of just like, oh my goodness, I just need a break. Like, right? I just need a minute to myself, and I need a breather. And we didn't have an argument, but it was kind of our first little like, hey, did you hear what I said? you know? So, you can kind of elaborate a little bit on that too, but
So I was having a challenging. It was a challenging week, but actually everything ended up working itself out, which it always does. Hi, Debbie. Hi, Gina. Hey, Cindy, Sharon. Good to see everybody on here. And she was feeling off. I was feeling off. Like, I mean, not towards each other, just generally. It was hard for me to mentally focus on certain things, and she was having trouble mentally focusing on things. And we were sitting here actually just like this, and she said to me, can you just give me a minute? Just give me a minute. Hey, Rob. And so she went to the bedroom, and she was like kind of doing her thing, and I heard her say, just give me a minute. But the way that my brain works, it's not that I wasn't listening, but I'm always trying. She knows me. I'm always trying to figure something out. And I don't need like third party approval, but we're a team, so I always like getting her opinion on things. So like I came up with something and I had an idea and I ran into the bedroom and she was kind of just laying on the bed and just kind of like just like listening to something. It was a podcast. And I went in there and I sat on the bed and I started talking. And she goes, "Didn't you hear like anything I said like 5 minutes ago?" And yeah. I'm like, yeah, but I want to. And she goes, I just need 10 minutes. Like, just give me 10 minutes. I just said that. And I was like, you're right. I'm sorry. And I left the room. And so she focused on her, and she came outside the room, and she goes, "Listen, let's just talk about this really quickly." She goes, I'm there for you whenever you need me, and I'm always going to, be a sounding board for you and give you advice. But when I say I just need 10 minutes, it's because I need 10 minutes. I just had to reset myself. And I said, you know what? Yeah, I'm going to own it. Like, you're right. Like, I didn't on purpose. I didn't purposely disregard what you said, but it was my squirrel brain working where I'm like, oh, I got something. I got to run to her. So it can always so what we talked about is, just if I had something like that, I'm just going to write it down so I don't forget it. And then she can focus on recentering herself or whatever she had to do. And then when she comes back and she goes, okay, is there anything you want to talk about? Then I can get my stuff out and we can talk. And she didn't yell at me.
No,
she didn't put me in the corner and make me wear a cone on my head.
Not at all. And it wasn't like that. And it was funny because like in the moment, I kind of wanted to be like, would you just leave me alone? You know, but I didn't do that. I actually kind of like digested it. And I was like, I don't want him to stop coming to me and like sharing stuff and
that's good.
Because it's actually my favorite thing to do. Like I love to brainstorm and to go back and forth with you. Like I enjoy doing that.
Denise said, I'd be like, I need 2 hours.
Yeah, no, that was, trust me, I needed like 3 days. But like,
but say that again. Like, you don't want me to not come to you.
Yeah, I don't want to completely shut it off. So I don't want to act emotionally. So I actually had to give myself a second to just, okay, how do I communicate to him in a way where I'm not speaking out of frustration and I'm not just yelling? I just want to tell him that I really love to help you out and I love to like, you know, brainstorm with you. But right now, I had so much on my mind and I didn't know at the moment that I was fighting the flu.
Mm-hmm.
But I was just brain fog. Physically, I didn't feel great. Like I knew something was off, but I couldn't really, you know, put my thumb on it. Of course, a day later I get the flu, but like I needed to kind of tell him in a way that I knew it wasn't going to completely shut it down. So, you know, I talked to him and I said, look, I think we were walking to get coffee. And he was just like, what's the matter? And I was like, a minute. one minute. Like, give me like 1 minute. And I thought about it and I went, all right. So remember whenever I told you I needed just like a minute, you know, and then you kept going, you know, so I kind of told him. And I always feel like even as a leader, like if anyone has managerial roles or leadership roles or whatever, anytime you give feedback or anytime you give someone, you know, something, you want to make sure you include some facts in there. You know, this is what you did and this is how you made me feel. You know, and again, I love you. And, you know, of course I'm telling him this, you know, out of love, but like, you got to make sure you include in there what was the thing, you know? Like,
well, I think honestly, a big takeaway like right now is like how many people out there have like yelled at their significant other and like it caused some like, didn't you hear what I just said? Leave me alone. And then, so emotionally, we're still children. Like as adults, we're still children. Like we still, you know, might feel a certain way. Oh, hi, Angie. Hi, Lindy says, that's so amazing. You guys are such great communicators. And I mean, I really feel we are, but we work on it. But here's the thing. How many people out there have been in relationships where they've yelled at their partner and then the partner's like, well, screw that. I'm not going to come to them. If that's the reaction I'm going to get, I'm not going to come to them at all because I don't want to get back in the ring with that. So you know what? I'm just going to sweep anything under the rug. And then what happens? Some time goes by and then you're like, hey, how come you haven't like opened up to me in a little while? And you used to come to me for things and now you're not going to. So it's a double-edged sword. So as difficult as it may be sometimes for us to say, you know, like we want to say, are you kidding me? You didn't, like 2 seconds ago, you didn't just hear what I just said? Like you want to say that, but at the same time, it's just as easy to say, listen, sweetheart, I know that there's something you want to talk about, but I really need about 10 or 15 minutes just to myself, I got a lot going on up here and I want to be present for you. And I want to hear what you have to say and give you any advice that you need. So just give me 15 minutes or I'll cut you. No, but like, and that keeps the lines of communication open, right?
Yeah.
And
yeah.
Lindy said it goes back to what my mom said, you know, treat everybody with kindness. And it's the truth. And
absolutely. Well, yeah, it goes the same in relationships. I mean, we talk about it on a lot of our lives. Like, you know, we try to filter everything through the funnels. You know, it was a Buddha quote that I read that was like incredibly impactful to me. But, you know, I live, you know, whenever I say things, I try to make sure it's kind. You know, is it necessary and is it truthful? And that goes for relationships as well. You know, is it necessary to scream at someone and say something, you know, crazy. No, but like, it's whatever. So.
Yeah, it's communication is so key, but listening and active listening, listening to your partner, and listening to yourself. It's really important. And there's some people on here that might not currently be in a relationship, but a lot of these things can also go for you and your family or your friends. And we can take this advice and the relationships that are important to us, that mean the most to us, those are the ones that we should honor and cherish the most and have the most respect for. And again, she knew that I wasn't intentionally not listening to her, and she could have easily handled the situation in a completely different emotional way, which would have caused an emotional reaction from me. But
Well, I was just going to add in too, or I could have bottled that up
and not said anything
and let it build and let it build and let it build, and then made a statement like, "You always," know.
Remember 17 weeks ago?
Never listen. Yeah.
So you never want to make those statements. So.
Sorry. The other thing that I wanted to add in there too is like, oh man, my flu brain. Sorry. I'm like, I had a really good point. Now I'm trying to remember what I was going to say.
Communication, listening, not sweeping things under the rug. Well, anyway, you want to be an active listener. And Cindy says, I agree completely. Communication is key. I remember when I used to snap in my hubby. I now take deep breaths and then communicate later. Yeah. I love that. And Matt says, kind, necessary, truthful. Thank you for sharing that. Absolutely, Matt. And Debbie says, I can use your example talking with my daughter. Absolutely. It can.
Yeah. And I just remembered what I was going to say is, even if your relationship might be like, let's say this already happened. Okay. Let's say you already had an outburst and maybe something might be bruised a little bit in your relationship. And this could be whether it's, a long-term relationship or a short-term relationship or with a sibling or someone else. I always say if it feels uncomfortable, even in work, like whenever I had to manage a team, if it feels uncomfortable, lean into it. Okay. And what I mean by that is address it, meaning like, hey, remember when we had that conversation the other day? I feel really bad because I said some things I didn't mean. Like bring it up and address it and kind of like rehash it if you need to, and then make sure you digest it. Because by leaving it out there, again, it kind of just bottles and it builds and builds and builds. So if there is that weirdness or that weird air in the relationship, make sure that hey, can we talk about this? Because it's been weird ever since.
I think one of the hardest things about communicating is realizing that how you react is how that other person's going to react. So before you blow off the handle and start screaming at your husband or wife for not listening, just think about it. How is that reaction? What is that going to cause? What kind of reaction back am I going to get? You don't want to push your partner away. You don't want to make your partner feel small or feel insignificant. You want them to feel like that they can always come to you, but it's also your right within the relationship to say to your partner, listen, I just need to give me an hour. I just got to get some stuff done. I need to just mentally check out for a second, and then we can come back to this. So just write down whatever you want to talk about, and we can go for a walk, grab some coffee, and we can talk about whatever you want to talk about. So saying that instead of saying, I can't believe you're sitting here talking to me right now when I just told you I needed 30 minutes. So Lindy says, I listened to a great message the other day about dealing with angry clients at work, and I didn't know how to before. This is such a great teaching. Thank you. You're so welcome. Thank you, Debbie. All right. So remember, just go back if you're on here live, or obviously you get on here a little bit later. Definitely go back and listen to these tips on communicating. So now, do you want anything else on this?
Just the last thing, because we wrote down two things. So it was listen to yourself and listen to your partner. The other thing I just wanted to throw in there really quick, again, listen to yourself. So for me, like self-care is incredibly important. So if you find yourself needing that time to recharge, And I know as a woman, Scott can go, 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 go. But as a lady, I know I need to recharge. I just need like maybe one, good evening. Maybe it's a bath or a massage or something, but like I need time to recharge my battery. So listen to yourself as well. When you're starting to feel stressed, it might not be your partner. It might not be like that other person who you might like feel tension towards. It might just be that you need to take a break and kind of a reset. So I wanted to make sure to point that out.
Yeah. Listen to yourself, listen to your partner, and listen to each other. Everyone tends to, when you're communicating, you might be hearing what the person is saying, but there's a big difference between hearing the person and listening to them. You don't want to just sit there and just hear them and say, good, I'm just going to sit here and they're just going to talk and I just got to like nod my head a little bit, just pretend like, okay. And then you just yes and okay them to death. No, like, part of being with the person that you're with is for you guys to also be best friends and to be able to talk. How would you feel if one of your best friends, you had something really important to talk about with them? They were like, yeah, whatever, yeah, sure. And they're just not even being present. You'd be like, what's your problem? So you have to communicate. You have to listen. Don't just hear someone. You have to listen to what they're saying. So now we wanted to talk about.
Go ahead.
No, you go.
No, this one gets me all jazzed up. So just a heads up.
Well, this is good because this is coming from like two very. You're really feeling this, huh?
Well, like I have this flu.
Right. Well, this is coming from this is really good for us because it's actually coming from two opposite ends of the spectrum. So before we go into this, okay, why don't you share with them
how I learned about this stat or
no. The conversation that we had about marriage on our first date, which made you feel a lot better about me.
Yeah. Okay. So, well, first off, can we talk about what we're going to talk
yes.
about? Okay. All right. So the thing that we're going to talk about is divorce rates in 2018.
So
and
currently.
The reason why I bring this up is, okay, I'm into real estate now. And I was at a meeting. And one of the strategy, these guys who are talking about strategizing your real estate business, they said be best friends with a divorce lawyer because the stats are insane. And we're going to give you the stats in just a minute. And it's the stats on first marriages, second marriages, and third marriages, the rate of, the percentage of divorce. It made me I couldn't stop thinking about it. Like it bothered me. And I came home and I was like, here's what how was your day, whatever. And it was just like, wow, this really bothered me. So before we share the stats with you, what Scott had mentioned, so we actually talked about marriage on our first date. So here I am, downloaded the Bumble app. Scott's the first guy I swiped. We went out for, a drink. And we were sitting there and we were talking, and for some reason it came up, marriage. I think we were just having this random in-depth talk. And I said, well, why do people get married anymore, nowadays? Why? Because the statistics are so crappy and so many people are getting divorced. Like, what's the whole point? And Scott just basically painted this picture of this insanely incredible thing that just made me want it. He painted this picture of marriage and what it could be and what it's supposed to be. And it just, that has never happened before. So if you wanna...
I also mentioned, that I had been divorced twice.
No, you mentioned you've been divorced once, but that was the third date.
Yeah, then the second one. Anyway, so...
We're truthful. We're very truthful.
and she said, do you still believe in marriage? And I said, absolutely. And I said, no matter what's happened in my past, I don't regret any of my relationships, but, I do believe that, they always say there's that one person. I think there's many people that we can all have a connection with. It's just who you meet and what level you connect on. And, I could have thrown in a towel and said, you know what, I'm, divorced twice. I have a son and that's it. and I said to I said to Nancy, I said, no, I said marriage is a beautiful thing. It's two people becoming one, being a team, being best friends, being lovers, but also having their own individuality within the relationship where you can grow as individuals, but you can also grow as a couple. And she said, never thought about it that way. Huh. But it's the truth. Like that's what marriage could be for every single person if they wanted that. Marriage means something different for many different people, just like success and love, and it's all perception. So I know there's a bunch of people that jumped on here. Hi, Laurel, Leanne, Laura, Alice, Tom, Lindy. High five. So marriage is a beautiful thing, and we wanted to go over the most up-to-date divorce rates of 2018. And this isn't to like scare anyone, but it's a reality. And I think, my mom always said, facts are friendly, Scott. Facts are friendly. So why don't you go through some of the stats, and then we want to hear from you guys after you hear these stats, how they make you feel, how can you relate to them, and what can we all do to change these statistics?
Yeah. So divorce rates of 2018, and I pulled it actually, the information off of a divorce lawyer website.
Perfect.
But, they pulled it off of census information. But first marriages, hold on, let me see if I can hold this up.
You might have to like.
Yeah. All right. So based on number of marriages, so first marriages, it had like a 40% failure rate, which I actually think it's a little higher than that, but this is what they had.
I think it is higher.
Yeah, so it's like 53% or something. So that's first marriage. Now, if you've got a second marriage in there, that second marriage is most likely to end up 60% chance of divorce. And ladies and gentlemen, holy cow, that third marriage, it says it's a 73% chance it's going to end up in divorce. And so why did my real estate, strategists say to know the divorce lawyers? Because they said, well, guess what? You'll get a client, and then a couple years later, you'll probably get another client, and a couple years later, you get another client. So again, I'm sitting here in that meeting, and I've never been married. And marriage has always been a very interesting thing to me, because I look around and I kind of wonder with those statistics and those things, I can't help but feel like, okay, well, why are people doing this? And those stats are alarming. I mean, they're pretty crazy. So that has been on my mind. And we're talking about this kind of now. We haven't really hashed it out. But I kind of wanted to throw it out there. I mean, what does everybody think about that? Like, is anybody shocked? Is anybody like not surprised?
Well, I think for me, because it will be my third marriage, and I mean, I have the utmost confidence. We already talked about this, that we're not going to be a statistic, but I can absolutely understand why the rate would be that high. Some third marriages happen later in life after someone maybe got married young, and then maybe they had like, it was a very, marriage when they were very young, high school sweethearts, didn't work out. And then they had someone they were with for 10 or 15 years. And then, maybe they thought the grass was greener on the other side. So they had that third marriage, and then it wasn't. It was the same thing. What I have learned, Lindy said, not surprised, but heartbroken over the truth. Us too. And Cindy said, I am shocked. Though, but more for the third marriage, for example. Yeah, 73%, because they say third time's a charm. I'm gonna be proof of that. But it's one of those things where you can't get caught up in the numbers. Even though can I just be open about you?
Yeah.
So, Nancy's been engaged twice. I've been married twice. So, I pulled the trigger, she emptied the clip, and no, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I don't want to go ahead.
Do you want to say anything?
No.
The whole point of it is we put labels on being engaged and being married. And when you break down an engagement, when you break down a marriage, at the core of it, it's still a relationship. So whether someone gets married on their third big relationship, maybe they dated someone for 3 or 4 years, didn't work out, never got married. I mean, when a relationship ends, it just ends. Sometimes there's legal papers involved and sometimes there's not. So it's just a label that we put on things. So for all intents and purposes, I had 2 relationships that didn't work out, and Nancy had 2 relationships that didn't work out. So for all this really means is, this could be our first marriage. Because again, it's all, does that make sense what I'm trying to say? No? Okay.
Remember, like I have foggy flu brain too.
All I'm trying to say is this. The past is the past. Can't change it. But where we are right now, it's a new beginning every single day. So if you're going to judge yourself and you're going to allow other people to judge you on past events, then you're just going to stay stuck there. I don't look back on any of my past relationships and think they were failures. They were lessons. They're lessons that are going to teach me and have taught me how to be a better partner, how to be a better friend, how to be a better lover, communicator, and everything, right?
I agree. We kind of had a conversation about this today too. We were laughing and we're always coming up with ideas. And I was just like, oh my God, we should each start a blog.
Can I share the one idea? All right. So the
Okay,
one thing I came up with, and this is, we come up with these little funny parody videos that we want to do. And I said, like, we saw this guy driving a little scooter. And I turned to her, I said, I mean, you can try to convince me, but I mean, I'm going to ask the ladies. It just doesn't seem, I don't know how you can look manly riding a little scooter. Like, a motorcycle's manly. And we just came up with all these like little parodies. And I'm like, we saw a scooter drive by and I'm like, we got to do a video on that. How to look manly on a scooter. That's that's just a little. That's just a little into like what we're about and what we.
We're just sitting here drinking our coffee this morning, and like seriously, it's like my.
We have a whole
thing.
list. Like
it's
literally,
like so much
we have
fun.
like 35
But, like,
things.
we have more than that. I have an ongoing note, and I seriously advise any of you out there to do this too. Anytime you have a funny thought, like.
So let me just go back. So just not to cut you off, but
Okay.
Debbie said she's been married twice. It has made me afraid to want marriage again. Been alone for 14 years, but I do feel like I'm finally ready to meet someone. It's truly been a whole trust thing for me.
I get it.
Absolutely.
I get it.
And Lindy says relational health is like physical health, like obesity in a relationship. If it needs to be nourished and fed and cared for with healthy things. Absolutely
Totally
right.
Totally.
Thank you, Lindy. She loves our playfulness.
Aw.
Hey, Bill. So continue with what you were going to say. Okay. So we were just talking about like how relationships we can't let the past.
We always come up with ideas like
Right.
with stuff. Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, emotional maturity.
Yeah.
So like Scott was saying, I'm like, oh my God, I'm a way better person now than I was 10 years ago, or 15, 16, like 9 years. Whenever I started dating, okay, we'll say 10 years ago.
Yeah. Is that it?
When I
10
first
years?
started dating, you know what I mean? Like, I'm such a better person. I'm a better person in a relationship. Like, I'm less selfish. I'm less emotional. Like I was saying, like whenever I hashed through what I wanted to say, like that's not the old me. I probably would have just blurted out a bunch of stuff and I would sabotage my own relationship. So those kind of things, like I'm a different person now. So when I saw those stats, it's like, it's so hard for me to believe. But again, there's so many different factors and you create the relationship that you need. And you guys are in this together. And just like Lindy wrote on there, it needs to be nourished. It needs to be fed. It needs to be cared for. Like a relationship. And I was telling Scott, like, I always want a relationship that's kind of like a family, like a family member, right? You can't divorce your family. Okay. It's not even an option.
You don't want to
Like,
divorce your family.
You don't want to divorce your family. Like my brother, when we were growing up, oh my gosh, we had so many fights and I went nuts. And like we wouldn't talk to each other for like a week, And my brother and I are closer than we've ever been now. Same thing with my sister. Like our relationship now is like a bajillion times better than it was a few years ago, but it's like we're family.
It's
like
maturity.
It's always a work in progress. And understanding that we're not always perfect. Like we're not always going to be like 100%. We're not always going to look 100%. I mean, we're at the point in our relationship, and that's why like I told Scott, it's so important to me that we're real on these. And that's why I kind of wanted to bring up that our first little thing was about listening. I wanted to be real because it is real, right? Like we're not in that like fluffy honeymoon stage anymore. I've been living with Scott for a couple months now. We've had points where it's like, whew, like this is a lot.
No, I mean, there's two of us in a 2-bedroom apartment with 2 dogs and a 6-year-old running around. It can get a little overwhelming.
Crazy. But like the thing is like we're in this together and we're past that stage, and this is us being real, and this is us like just saying like, look, like we're not perfect. Like I'm not the same girl that you started to date, for the first couple months. I was just like always 120%, and look at me, like every Sunday I'm usually wearing my hat and I'm pretty chill. But the thing is like we're human beings, and I love you, and I want to work on things with you, and I don't want to be, a crap head, and I want to talk to you about things, and anyway. But it does need to be nourished.
No, and you do have good emotional intelligence. And I just want to give Lindy a little shout out. So Lindy's just an amazing person to begin with. But one of the, like, aside from Lindy being just amazing, one of the coolest things about Lindy, and this was something that totally, like, intrigued me, Lindy bought a tiny house, like one of the tiny, and she's obsessed with them. So Lindy, if you have a picture in your phone, drop a picture. It's beautiful. She gave me a virtual tour of it. She's like she's in like the woods. And I believe you're in British Columbia, right, Lindy? And there's like woods and just green everywhere. And it's my dream. And it's a beautiful home. So Lindy, if you can like post a picture into the comment section of this, that would be awesome. It just clicked into my mind. I knew Nancy would love that. She's obsessed with. I love it. I do, yes. So again, none of us have to become statistics at all. A great book for everyone to read, whether you're in a relationship or not, is called The 5 Love Languages. Great book. And she said, come visit anytime. If there's room for us, Lindy. If you haven't read that book, whether you're single, whether you're divorced, whether you're married, it'll help you understand yourself better so that when you are ready for a relationship and you have those conversations with the person that you're with, you can tell them what fills your love tank. And then you can ask them what fills theirs. So just a little example, like she loves getting gifts. So you do.
I do.
and there's some back there. It doesn't have to be anything major. She loves flowers, so she wasn't feeling well, so she besides getting her medicine, I got her a couple different bouquets of flowers because it makes her feel good. She goes, you're probably thinking of like since I've been on all your lives lately, but I've been so sick and in bed a lot. Queen size spare bed. Well, we sleep on a queen size, so I think we will fit. But no, Lindy, like I think some of the best medicine, besides whatever you're taking, could be just talking with other people, being around the people that you care about and that care about you like us. So just knowing that there's other people there. So we're really happy that you spent some time with us. And Debbie says, hope you feel better. That's what I love about Facebook Live, because you guys can talk to each other, while we're on here. Like it's not, we end up being the portals to to communicate everyone. And thank you, Harry. Appreciate that, brother. Hi, Patty. Great to see you on here. So any last minute things to add before we close out?
Just to tag on the love languages, a lot of people, so if you're unsure, what someone's love language is, and you've been with someone for a little while, and you want to, figure it out, usually people like to give their love the way that they like to receive. I learned that. But The Love Languages is an amazing book. And do you know what the 5 are? It's like
hold on, I can pull it up really quick.
Pull it up really quick. But yeah, the first time I ever heard about that book was from a couple that I greatly admire, and they've been married for over 35 years, I think. And they said the secret to their marriage is they always fill each other's tanks. And let's see.
Hold on. I think they're here somewhere.
I know one of it is
well, one is giving gifts. Words of affirmation.
Acts of love.
Acts of love.
Physical touch.
Physical touch, and then there's one more.
Touch.
God, it's a word.
You can just search for the 5 languages.
I did. Hold on. What are the 5 love languages?
It just pops up.
It does. Maybe if it's only. But either way, it's a great book that you want. Where is it? Blah blah blah.
Oh, here we go. Quality time. So one is receiving gifts. Quality time, words of affirmation, acts of service and devotion, and physical touch.
Yes.
So can you go back to the live?
Yeah, I'm gonna copy that, and I'm gonna paste the 5 love languages here.
Boom. Okay. So yeah, anyway, totally check out the book. If you don't have time to read the book, just check out those things. I mean, it's really funny, but each
acts
person.
of services are hobbies. That's so great. People.
What's that?
No, Cindy said acts of services are hobbies. Words of affirmation, acts of service, physical touch. They were all going through. You guys are awesome.
Awesome. I love that. But that's the thing. Each person usually has about 2. Mine, physical touch, and gifts. And it's funny. It's not like in a weird way. Just like I love giving gifts, and I love when people take the time to think of me and give me gifts. That's where it comes from. It's not like, oh my gosh, you have to get me this or that or whatever. It's just that act. To me, is so special that you went out of your way to do something like that. And
mine is physical touch and words of affirmation. She needs to tell me how amazing I am all the time.
And the physical touch thing too. If you stopped wanting to kiss me or anything like that, that to me is very important too. But that's not important to everyone. So I think it's really cool that everyone's so different.
Yeah. So either way, just go back and watch this if you haven't done already. So. Listen to yourself, listen to your partner, and just remember, the stats that we shared with you tonight, they're just stats. You don't have to give meaning to them. So just remember what's happened in your past has happened in your past. The beautiful thing about life is you get to write a brand new chapter every single day. So for those that consistently jump on our lives, between 9:30 and 10 Eastern on Sunday nights. We do these every Sunday nights. If there's anything that you want us to talk about relationship-wise, you can always leave it in the comment section below, and we can do some research on it and give you our opinions and thoughts on what we have found from it, what we took away, and how you guys can implement it. So on behalf of myself and Nancy, you guys have a great rest of your Sunday night, and we'll see you next week. Bye, everybody.